Hey everybody, Mean Joe with Boss USA. Welcome back to the next episode of Shop Time Live, the Toledo 2020 experience. And we have on hand none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Greg Obi-Hahn-Benobi. Thanks for coming on, Greg.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Wow. My head barely fits in the screen, right?
Okay. Hey, your head, don't even start.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, what's going on? So we've got Greg in his shop here.
It's actually a warm day. It's one of those days that if we were at Toledo, we'd all be standing around complaining because we needed to be at the field. You know, sometimes it's snowing and 20 at Toledo, and sometimes it's 70 and sunny. And just so happens that today's one of those days where it's like, man, we need to be at the field. What are we doing sitting here in the booth trying to sell all this crap, you know? Because usually these days it's pretty empty because everybody else is at the field. And we who are stuck in the booth are literally stuck in the booth. So.
Yeah, and it's last year we had a lot of that. Greg, Dan Landis says hi.
Yeah, hey, what's up? Yeah.
Last year we had some of that. It was really beautiful during the show, and it was really hard to keep people there because everybody was wanting to be at the field. So, yeah, I'm hoping at some point Toledo was able to switch that up a little bit and make it a flying event. I think that's kind of the direction that the trade shows are heading in these days. And I would love to see something like that done, like even maybe at the AMA site and just host the whole thing there, something like that.
Yeah. And I always thought that the biggest show, the biggest event, the biggest, extravaganza should always be at the AMA.
Yeah, but, I think that's kind of where they're
started it long ago when the AMA only had 10,000 members and stuff like that. So, but hate to date myself, but I've been going to Toledo long enough that I remember when it was at the what we used to call the Mud Hen Nest, which was the hockey arena over across the river, where you had to walk down probably to the east across the bridge from the hotel to the hockey arena, and that's where Toledo was back in the day. That's been around a while, but back in those days, it was always snowing. It was always cold. It was never warm. So things have warmed up, global warming and all that kind of thing. So
yeah, exactly.
Toledo needs to be moved back toward winter so that it stays cold, but that's okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's all good. I think that, and maybe seeing about trying to get vendors, because I know, a lot of vendors that we have out there these days, a lot of them have, this type of thing. They have the online presence and it's instant gratification. So they can put any new products they have out on their websites early. And I think that actually, I don't think they're doing it necessarily to try to kill trade shows, but I think inevitably if we keep going in that direction, the trade show as it stands will go away, which is why I feel like we need to try to make them flying events so that way people will show up.
Yeah, it definitely slows them down. I mean, I can remember back in the day, especially in our club here in Henry County, which I've been a member of and a part of for 30 years. We all used to pile up and go to Toledo, and that was our big buy. I mean, we would save all year, save all of our money, sell a couple things over the winter, and go to Toledo with a pile of cash, and we bought the next year's complete project. We wanted to get the plans, the retracts, get the wood if we could, the covering, and I mean pretty much everything. You wanted to get the nuts and bolts, and you literally bought your next project at Toledo, and that was the big deal.
Right. Yeah.
And back in the day, I've worked at Toledo in probably 5-6 different booths over the 30 plus years I've been there. But up until I think it was 2010 or 2011. Since 1979, I had missed one Toledo. And so, I've been there a lot. But, from time to time, I worked for Horizon Hobby Co. I never really worked for Nick Zeroli, but I spent several years working with them in the booth at Toledo, helping sell plans and retracts and all that kind of stuff. And, of course, always displayed my latest projects at Toledo. And so Toledo's always been the jumping off point of the year.
Yeah, and especially those of us here in the Midwest, it's always been the kind of the start of the whole season for
exactly.
us.
Yeah, because as soon as you got done with Toledo, then normally you had Top Gun was right there within a couple 3 weeks, and then as soon as Top Gun was done, 2 weeks later you had the Mint Julep, and then boom, you were right into the season. So as far as a competitor goes, Toledo was your static show, and then Top Gun, and then the Mint Julep, and then Nats, and then Masters, and as it went on through the summer. But that was your major kickoff. So you always wanted to have your new project at Toledo. So
yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm going to find interesting this year. I think because of obviously yesterday, everybody heard already that the 2020 Joe Nall event was canceled. At this point, they didn't give it a makeup date, but I believe that because of the way things are going and the way it sounds, that the Nall in the fall thing they have is actually going to be huge this year. I'm already anticipating that to be the biggest event they've ever had there. So,
yeah, I was always hoping the Nall would do a spring and a fall and break it up a little bit so that it wasn't so massively huge. I remember back in the day being at Joe Nall and literally being there all weekend and get a fly like 3 times because you were waiting in line because back in the having to get the frequency clips and stuff like that. Now it's totally different, but back in the day, it was when you had 1,000 pilots there, it was really tough to get a chance to fly. So.
Yeah, well, now they've still got that many pilots, if not more. They just have it all spread out. So you've got I think, what do they have now? They have the water line, they have the main line, they have the 3D line, control line. They have all that stuff going at the same time. So that helps kind of spread it out. Electric lines in there. So I think it's something that has morphed and changed with the hobby over the years. And I honestly believe that event, especially like the Nall, my personal opinion is that I would rather see that in the Nall, because I honestly believe, other than the morning fog and stuff that they have, that the fall is a better time for weather-wise after that event anyways.
But it's a little more calm as far as wind. The fall has always been really good about that until you get into November, and then it starts getting windy again. But the spring is always, you got to change the season, and in spring, you got the spring winds, and that affects things. Plus, it's a little more consistent in the fall. It's a little harder for it to get really cold because the ground's warmed up, and then in the spring it's the opposite. But I think it'd be good to go twice if they had the manpower and the time to do it.
Sure,
they could definitely draw the crowd, but I know it's a lot of work, so it's not like you can just snap your fingers and say, "Oh yeah, let's go ahead and do it." Well, you've got to get the 150 guys to help again, and that's not easy to do. I've been there.
Yeah, me too. It's crazy. So we've got a lot of guys showing up. We've got I don't know if you're able to see the screen or not. We've got Randy Adams, we got Brad Hendrickson, Tim Smith, Carl Hanley. Everybody's all showing up. They're all saying hi. Looking good. I'm thinking Scott might need new glasses. He says looking good. So
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
So lots of people are showing up. That's good.
Yeah. Overlook the age, that kind of thing. I mean, I
wasn't going to say anything about that.
Talk about looking back through the years. The old throwback Thursdays. I've got some pictures that are scary. I mean, I've even got pictures of Nick Ceroli Sr. when he had dark hair.
Oh wow!
Oh yes. When you've been in this as long as I have, you have some interesting photos from time to time that you can dig up. It's
and
crazy.
I wasn't going to say anything about when you said you were at Toledo in 1979. I was still in grade school. I wasn't going to say that.
Yeah, that's enough. I think that's okay. Well, that was just the first time I went to Toledo. I mean, I built my first radio in 1975. 75. I built a Heathkit blue box with the red sticks with the servos the size of your fist.
Very cool.
I started in this way back. Back in its infancy. So.
That's crazy. We got Mike Barbie in here now.
Yeah. And now he dates me a little bit. Now I don't feel so bad. Okay.
Well, he's going to actually be – so anything you want to do to tease on Mike Barbie, just be careful, because Matt's already got it out for him. Matt Chapman was on here Thursday, and Matt's already looking to get some payback on his feed when he's on here tomorrow.
Oh,
so he'll be in this
okay.
6 o'clock slot tomorrow. So
Well, I know Mike and I could probably throw darts for a long time because him and I both have been in this for a very, very, very long time. So, you know, not darts. I mean, shoot, we've been friends for years and years and years.
oh
So.
yeah.
And we both seem to be frustrated about the same thing, not at each other, but a lot of the same things we've been frustrated about in the past. And him and I both have a tendency to kind of wear that on the shoulder occasionally. So.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm the same way.
No, at least everybody on the planet knows exacusly where you stand. You know,
exactly.
that kind of
Yeah. Nobody guesses.
Yeah.
Nobody guesses about
Nobody
how I feel
guesses.
about something.
Exactly. Well, awesome. I guess this thing's worked out pretty good. I mean, it's been busy and too bad we don't have a Toledo. This whole Chinese virus thing. Oh yeah, I'm not supposed to call it that. Sorry.
It's all good.
But anyway, yeah.
It's interesting, but to me, and this is something I was talking with Matt about and talking with Mark about yesterday, is for me, it's kind of a little bit. I mean, I'm trying to look at the bright side, but for me, yeah, it sucks being quarantined and all the events getting canceled and stuff. But I'm getting a lot of stuff done around here. I'm getting a lot more stuff done than I would have been able to get done now that I'm here and able to do it. So that's one good thing.
Realizing what I'm doing here. I mean, I've literally been off work for 3 weeks now, pretty close to 3 weeks now. So I haven't left the house in 4 days now, 5 days. But anyway, and the last time I left the house, I had to get more stain because balsa really drinks the stain. So when I got mine stained and I was staining yours, I ran out. I had to go to Menards and get some more stain. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So anyway, I'm actually getting a lot done, and there's a lot of building in these albatross kits. I'm not complaining, but
right.
if you love building, that's a builder's kit, and especially when you're building two of them, I would have never got either of them done by Toledo, no matter what, because there's just so much building to do there. Right. And then, of course, I paint the lodgings on, which takes a little extra time, and stain things. And then I did there's a certain amount of cockpit detail that I've done. So all that just adds to it, which is fine. I'm not complaining, but it would have been impossible for me to get them both done by Toledo anyway. So.
Right. And that's one of the things I hope people recognize because we're talking to what I would consider one of the best builders I've seen. And he actually builds really fast. We all the time talk about how irritating Greg Hahn is because he builds everything so quickly. So just understand that when you take the step and you make the decision to go with a 1/3 scale albatross airplane, that there's going to be a lot of work involved. I believe so. Just as a reference to how quickly Greg builds, I believe you got those in January, am I not mistaken? Like the first or second week of January?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was that last when you came down. What I can't remember when you came down and brought the motors.
That was like the week after
we did that
Christmas.
Little broadcast then in the shop. I can't remember when that was, but I think
that was in January.
Okay, so I actually got the kits in December then.
Okay.
Sometime in December, middle of December or whatever. So I've been working on them now for essentially, 4 months, 3 months, 3.5 months or so. And of course, I'm building two.
Right.
But I've had a lot of people say, well, building two, the second one's a lot faster. Yes, it is, because every time I make a part for one, I make all the parts for the second one too. So then it becomes more of an just an assembly on the second piece. When I'm making the little landing gear parts and all that kind of stuff, I made all of them at the same time. When I make the V struts, I make those all at the same time. So it definitely cuts down on the thinking time. Once you get it thought about, you don't have to do it twice.
Right.
So, it does cut it down, but you're still building two. And there's a lot of people don't realize the amount of glue it takes to go too. So,
right. Exactly.
So anyway, it's a fun airplane. It's not difficult to build. There's just a lot of building there.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and it's coming down there and seeing your process, and I really wish we were closer because I'd really love to get you. I know everybody always comments on how awesome your build videos are and all that stuff, but I would really like to get there and be able to spend some time and learn some of the techniques that you use, because some of the stuff that you do is to me just it's phenomenal, and the way it turns out and the way it looks is I've never seen any better. So kudos to you for that. And for doing two of them is insane.
Yeah, it's insane. It's a lot of building, and but they're twins. They're exactly identical twins, except yours is going to be red where everything else is stained. I keep thinking if I show this enough and you take a look at this, you're going to be going, I don't know, maybe I like that stained look after all, because your airplane's essentially going to look like this, and then I'm going to take a spray gun with red in it and essentially paint red over the whole airplane. So anyway, so in other words, all this is going to show through the red. That's the whole idea.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Have you taken the steps to get all the red stuff around? Have you gotten all the stuff around to make it red?
To make it, you mean the paint?
Yeah. Have you gotten the paint and all that stuff done? Have you went out and got it already is what I'm asking.
No, but I do have the process figured out how I'm going to do it.
Well, so
because the same process, it's kind of the same process I used on the Gotha, where the Gothas were built and they were painted, excuse me, a very light blue. And they put all the nomenclature and all the markings and everything on the Gothas. And then they found out that the light blue didn't work really well in the daytime, so they painted olive drab over it, the green.
Right.
So they just painted the green over all the markings and everything, and the markings and everything still showed through. But I hate to admit it, but on the Gotha, I cheated. What I did was I changed the color of the markings paint, and I painted the markings on so it looked like they're showing through the green, and they're not. They're actually just a different color of green.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas with yours, there's no way of faking that. I literally have to finish the airplane as is and then shoot red all over it so that everything shows through.
Because I'm looking at that airplane.
Look at it, the whole airplane shows through the red, like the red is kind of transparent.
Right. Well, I mean, since you haven't really taken any steps towards making it that way yet, I might still change my mind, because I really, really like the way that looks in the unfinished wood. I really love that.
This is a piece of furniture right here.
It is. I mean, it's beautiful.
And this is an experiment for me. I've never done it before. So this is all to me. I've just been experimenting with different stuff. And, as far as putting the nail heads on with the brown Sharpie and that's just experiment. That's what we modelers do. You just kind of spitball it. It's like, well, let's see if this works. And you throw it at it and take a piece of junk balsa and try it and see what it looks like. And see, I did all this finish on just a slab of balsa and said, that's what I want it to look like. So then I just copied it onto the airplane.
Yeah, but it's absolutely gorgeous. So I might be changing my mind. I'll be honest with you, Greg. I was worried that you'd already gone too far. So I might still change my mind.
And you're lucky, because what I wanted to do was, before I got to that point, I wanted to experiment to find out exactly how I'm going to finish it, so that I knew how I was going to finish it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. I totally understand.
I didn't want to get too far in one direction and go, oh, crap, I wish I'd have done it this way. I wanted to get my method down before I did the madness, if that makes sense. So,
right. And I know yours is going to be Kermit Weeks' scheme.
It's going to have the big lightning bolt with the arrow.
Yeah, that would be cool to have twins. I wonder if we could, I don't know. Let me think on it, because I really like that finish. That finish to me is just gorgeous.
There's a whole lot of them like this, because most of them were finished like this. Okay.
Yeah. I might switch it up if you don't mind.
They don't have to be exactly twins, but I love this finish. I mean,
I absolutely love it. Yeah. It's gorgeous.
It turned out gorgeous. And then I had to experiment with 3 or 4 different wood fillers, because unless you literally yank your fingernails out, every time you touch this, you dent it.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to keep a really nice, smooth surface when you're building the crazy thing. And so occasionally you do something, you got to put some filler in there. Well, it's hard to find a filler that matches balsa so that when you stain it, that the filler actually takes the stain to the same degree as the wood, so that it doesn't show like some big blob you've got in the middle of that piece of balsa.
Right.
So I had to find the right kind of filler that takes the balsa really well. And I did find some. I'll later on in the program, I'll say, here's what we use. And if you ever need to fill balsa and do it this way, this is the filler you need to use because it works perfect for balsa. And I tried like 4 different fillers and only one of them actually worked.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, it is super cool. We're having several requests for a close-up walk around of the airplane if you can muster that.
Sure. I did some outdoor pictures today just because I wanted to get it outside and see what it looked like with the wings stuck on it and all that.
Hold on just a second.
Beautiful. It's like, yeah, but it's getting painted over, people. you know.
Just a second. Let me pull up because I've got your Facebook page already pulled up here, and we can actually look at some of the stuff that you were showing today.
Yeah.
So right here are the pictures Greg is talking about with it outside. If you hadn't had a chance to see that yet, these are the outside shots.
Yeah, none of the rigging's done or anything like that. The buckets are there to hold the wings up because if you don't have buckets there, the wings droop. Right. So that's just holding the wings where they're supposed to go.
Yeah, it looks absolutely beautiful. I've been, of course, watching every single episode fervently to make sure I don't miss anything.
Well, the main thing that I do that for, many years ago, Model Airplane News approached me about writing a book. They wanted me to think about writing a book on my techniques of doing all the different things I do. And anybody that knows me, English comp in college was like, just kill me. Okay. I hate to write. I just hate it. I absolutely despise writing. And so the idea of writing a book almost makes me sick. So it's a way of passing on my techniques without me having to write it down. I mean, I did some writing as far as articles and magazines and stuff like that. And I did it at first mainly to, kind of help get my name out and stuff like that. And I enjoyed trading different ideas with people on building and how to do this and how to do that. And, but I learned then that, writing 2,000 words was just like, just shoot me in the foot, please. I hated it. And so when they approached me about writing a book, I was like, man, and how many people are going to, how many could I sell? A couple of thousand, maybe, I don't know. And that's when it comes to books and stuff like that, that's not very many. So it's easier for me, and I'd rather just, give it away anyway. I mean, so I just do the videos just to pass it along. Plus, we're in a real crappy time right now, and it's too easy to get online and get on Facebook and listen to everybody venting and complaining and the politics and all the bull crap, and it's just terrible. And it's demeaning, and it bums everybody out, and I mean, depression's bad enough as it is, right? And nowadays, and that kind of stuff, because of the social media and all that kind of stuff. You don't have shows to go be around all your buddies and all that kind of stuff because you literally don't have to leave your mom's basement, Right. So, depression's a thing. So doing the videos and things like that, and the pictures, and it gets people's minds off of the reality of how crappy it is out right now. So That's kind of what we're doing, especially since now that we have the time, since I'm off work too, which, I hate being furloughed and wondering, how we're going to make money or whatever. So it's just part of life, and that's what we got to deal with. And I'm just trying to keep everybody as positive as possible.
Exactly.
And we all have trouble with that. So that's why I do it. And I hope people don't get annoyed by having new pictures every day and new videos.
Oh, I can tell you, I can promise you that is not the case at all. They absolutely look forward to it every day. If I don't share something from your page every day, I get asked, why don't we have anything from Greg's page today? So I can guarantee they are not tired of it.
No, well, I've been busy doing something like this.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't see it. It's cobalt blue on one side because it's just pencil marked with the numbers, the paint by number. And then there's the bottom side done, ready for rib stitching and the cap strips. And then the clear, I put clear polyurethane over this, but this is just standard tester's paint. And I'll do a little plugging. I'm finishing up my stencils. I'm going to be offering my stencils for this for sale now in both quarter and third scale. And I have the color codes and everything for what I consider at least the fairly correct codes. And you can paint over any covering or anything like that. But I've always painted it. The main reason I painted it's because I wanted it to show up. I love the Torrance covering because it's authentic and it looks right and it's faded and it's cloth. You know, to me, it was always a little bit heavy, and it was expensive, but it didn't show up much. It wasn't bright. And if you look at most paintings and most pictures and what you have in your mind's eye of what this pattern is, it's bright. Where in reality, it wasn't. Okay. But nowadays, if you look at any restoration or any World War I airplane that people are building and they're using the Legend pattern, it shows up because it's bright. And that's the way I like it. So that's why I've always painted it, because it shows up better. It's a lot more time consuming. Maybe. I don't know, because I use iron-on covering and then I paint it. Well, doping on the covering and all that kind of stuff takes its own amount of time. But anyway, this is the way I like to do it. And it's painted and shows up really well and colorful and all that kind of stuff. So,
well, I can tell you it looks fantastic. And I know you had a big hand in helping Tim and Ron get their airplanes done and get them set up with how they've done it. And they've just taken it to the next level with all of the airplanes I've seen them do, like the twin D7s they have. And I know now Tim's got the half scale, and you can definitely see that same idea and plan that you had on yours transfer over to theirs. So it's very cool.
Yep. Just pass it along. That's the whole idea. Okay, so you want to walk around to this thing? Huh?
Yeah, if it's something that you can do.
Yeah. I don't know whether to leave it on the tripod or take the phone off the tripod. Here, I'll just pick the thing up and use the tripod like a walking stick because I can fold it up. Okay.
Perfect. Mike Barbie asked, what kind of covering did you use on that?
That's the last of the Solar Tex. Remember we were discussing and I said, well, what colors do you have left? Because I'm trying to figure out what I can cover over the best. Okay. And at the time, I hadn't really dug and researched that much on color schemes. And I thought we would end up doing the blue and the green because some of the early albatrosses had that blue and green camo swirl finish on the top and the bottom of the wing. And that's what I was thinking about. But then when I saw that they had Legend pattern on the later models, the 5As, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's what we're going to do. Heck with that swirl pattern. And that's when I said, bring me, send the blue, because you said we had that cobalt blue Solar Tex. Well, that's the last of the Solar Tex. And that's why it's cobalt blue, because that was all we had left was the really, really bright colors and stuff. And it's been a little tough to cover, but the paint does cover. But that is the last of the Solar Tex.
Perfect.
So anyway, okay, I walk around on this thing. Let me see what we got here, so I can see. Well, here's the tail, and this is covered in Solar Tex, and then the fake rib stitching, which I just use RC56 and make a little line that looks like a stitch. I have stitched this before, but I'll tell you what, it's kind of cool for wow factor, but even in competition, it's stitching it on and stuff like that. It's just adding a lot of work in the wow factor, and it's cool for a conversation piece, but it's not going to get you any points. So you just you want to make it, like I've always said, you want to make it look real. It's the illusion. It doesn't have to be real, but it needs to look real, and that's the whole thing, So, and then the tail. This is solid wood here, and of course this is open in fabric. The controls in here for the pull cables on the rudder. And then, of course, the wood finish. And this is just balsa covering. And then it's stained with a varathane stain called spring oak. And then it has 2 coats of Z-epoxy resin, and then 2 coats of polyurethane over the top of that. And what that did was it allowed me to sand the epoxy to get it really nice and smooth, and then that laid a nice base for the polyurethane to be really smooth, and it still left some of the wood grain. You can still see some of the wood grain, and it soaked up some of the stain, which is what gives it its look. Plus, the balsas, just like any real wood, it has different colors in the panels. And so it turned out to be a really nice way to finish things.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and then they glued it, and of course they used the little brass brad nails. And instead of actually using the little brad nails, which could be done, but like I said, it's an illusion. If you brad nailed this much, the way this airplane's built, you would probably weaken the structure because you're poking a hole all the way through everything. So all this is a brown Sharpie, and all I did was make a dot with a brown Sharpie. And I did in between the coats of polyurethane. The first coat of polyurethane, then I did the brown dots, and then I put another coat of polyurethane over it, so they're sealed in. Does that make sense? Plus, you don't have to sand it.
Yes.
So anyway, cool. Haven't got to the guns done yet. I'm going to do all 4 of those at the same time. This was my cockpit combing that I did the other day on a video. This is the finished product. And this is scale. This is where it is seamed in the real one. Right here. The gun butts sit on top of these posts here, and then your gauges go in here. I don't have the gauges done, but you can see the cockpit, and then the stick the control stick that I made for him to use, and the masked man is sitting in there. And he is actually seat belted into a seat. And then you can center section. And actually, this paint, this is called celery. This is a Krylon color you can buy in a rattle can at the hardware store, and it's the perfect color for this. And it works really good. And then you've got the wheels. And I reposted my video on how I cover the wheels. This is your standard Dubro wheel with covering over it, and then painted. And the bungee landing gear. This is all part of the kit. The pieces where you have to make your bungee stoppers, and you solder up the landing gear, and then you cover it in balsa, and then you actually finish it. Center section where the bottom part of the wing fits in. I guess one thing I did different or changed something from the kit was the drag lengths on this airplane. The full scale had 2. It had an upper and a lower drag length. And the kit was actually designed for just one to go to I think to the upper. Because there's a cable that goes from here out to the V-strut, which is what they call a drag length, which keeps the wing from going backwards. It holds the wing straight forward. And these are your drag length holders. I made a second one because there's actually 2 on the full scale airplane. There's one that goes high and one that goes low. And so I went ahead and put the second one in there. So both airplanes will have 2 drag lengths in the front. The spinner works great. Got it all drilled out with the prop. I don't have the dummy engine done yet. Using scale exhaust. It's a little obtrusive, but having to wait or try and buy or find or make something to change the exhaust it's a lot easier just to use the thing that comes with the motor. And then you always want to cut a big hole in an albatross because you want the exhaust and everything to get out in the heat, because albatrosses, if you can see, they don't get much air in here. Even though you got the head cooled, you got a crankcase in there that needs to be cooled too. So you got to have a lot of air, and it takes 2 or 3 times as much going out as goes in. Always remember that. So here's fuel inlet. I'm always into fuel dots. But it's pretty much just an airplane, and it's probably going to weigh 35 or 40 pounds. It's not going to be really heavy. I'll raise this up so you can see it a little bit. The skid. See the tail skid? Can you see it? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's perfect.
You see where that works? See, and then it's bungeed, and that's the scale. The full scale is exactly like that. But I pretty much everything except for those drag links in the front. This is all kit. You guys just realize that I haven't made a whole lot of special, gadgets and things for this airplane. And this is pretty much straight out of the box. So you don't have to buy a bunch of crazy stuff or do a bunch of crazy stuff. This is what they supply you in this kit, for the most part. So you don't have to worry about a bunch of special things and feel like maybe it's over your head or you can't really handle it or whatever, because this is the way it comes out of the box. The only different things that I've done is like the cockpit combing and this extra drag link, but pretty much everything else in here you see comes out of the box.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems we have with that kit. A lot of people don't understand all the stuff that's included with that kit.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot there. People see that price tag and they think, oh my goodness, that is really expensive. But they don't really, when they have that thought, they don't realize what all's in that kit that comes in the box.
Exactly. Yep. You've got the fuel tank and the dummy engine. I mean, that dummy engine's got is crazy parts. So there's a lot in this kit. I mean, you don't have to go out and buy really anything extra for this except for an engine, because the wheels come, everything comes with it. So you're buying what they used to term a complete kit, and it definitely is. So anyway, anybody want to see anything else on here?
They're all just saying how awesome it is and what a great job you did. The comment of just an airplane got some chuckles. Yeah, it's just an airplane.
Well, it's an airplane.
That's good. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Hahn. That's how Greg thinks. It's just an airplane.
It's an airplane. It flies, and that's part of it.
Yeah. Somebody said the other day, I forget, and now I've got to look it up because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. You posted a video the other day, or I think it was a picture you posted, and I'm going to look it up because it was awesome. And I thought it was a great quote. I immediately took a snapshot of it and sent it to Mark. I'm looking for it. I know it's here.
You mean
it literally just happened.
What? It was something I said.
Yeah, you said something in the video, and somebody said, I know it's right here. I can't see it. I'll find it. But it was pretty hilarious. They said something. You said something about here it is, just in the bones or just getting started or whatever. And somebody made a comment of, yeah, right. It was pretty comical, actually.
Oh, I said it's in the rut.
Yeah, in the rut. That's what it was.
In the rut. Well, to me, it is. I haven't finished the cockpit yet. The dummy engine's not done. I haven't put the clear sealer over the tail yet because I don't have any of the markings on it. I mean, it's still in the rough, but I think I made the comment to you that, and then I didn't mean it this way. Don't ever take it as a slam or anything like that. But I said, obviously, they've never been to Top Gun.
Right?
They've never been under the scrutiny of Richie on the craftsmanship table. You're like, trust me, this is in the rough.
Right.
So, yeah.
I just thought it was hilarious. I got a good kick out of that. So
you got a kick out of that one, okay?
I really did. Yeah, and Greg, I can't say it enough. I don't know if you can see the chat, but it's simply gorgeous. Everybody is commenting about what it looks like and how awesome it is. And like I told Mark the other day, I actually told Matt Chapman this when me and Matt were talking. He said because we were talking about the Albatross, because I really love that airplane. He says, how are you building? I said, oh, no. I said, Greg's building this one. He says, oh, really? And I said, yeah. I said, I know how to pick a builder, man. I said, I knew immediately, as soon as I knew that I wanted to do one, you were my first call, because I knew that you would be interested in doing the project. So for me, it was a no-brainer. So
Well, after building 6 or 7 D7s, I was ready for something different.
Yeah, it's perfect. And for those that
Yeah.
can't see the chat, there was a question that came up about Colin had a question of what engine. These are both going to have DLE 85s in them.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure I said that because it's that's really the perfect engine for this airplane.
And the soft mount and the standoffs mount that you saw on the pictures that I have posted comes with the engine. A lot of guys don't realize that, and that's the lifesaver of the airframe, because that engine will literally sit and flop around. I think I posted an old video that I took a year ago or so on the engine literally bouncing around in that soft mount. But that soft mount really saves the airframe, because a single cylinder 85 is definitely a beaten banger. So it's a great engine, a great combination. The muffler that comes with it is a little obtrusive and it's big, but it works and it's quiet. It's not crazy loud either, and it makes good smoke. Which, by the way, that's another thing I've had to put. Yours is good. Mine doesn't have smoke. Yours does. I haven't figured out how I'm going to put smoke in mine. I don't know whether I'm going to or not, but yours is definitely going to have smoke in it. And I had to get the tank situation arranged to where that tank sits on the CG.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
that I had to make some changes there. Yeah, see, anytime you use like a smoke tank, that thing has to sit on the CG. So as you burn smoke fuel, it doesn't change your CG.
Right.
You don't want to have to be retrimming every time you burn smoke fuel.
Right. Mike wants to know, are you to a place where you want to divulge what filler you used, or are you going to save that for another video?
Oh, no. Here, let me get it real quick. Right there. Let me get it to where we can see it.
Okay, so that's the DAP plastic wood filler.
And it's natural or neutral. Natural. It's the natural color. They make like 3 or 4 or 5 different colors of this, and the natural is what matches the balsa. And I mean, when you sand this down and you put stain on it, it literally disappears. And I was shocked, because most of your balsa fillers, especially when it says plastic wood, that means that it's garbage. That means that you can't sand it. It means that it looks like garbage, but this stuff actually works. And I tried, the Minwax makes a wood filler, and a couple other companies makes wood filler, and they call it this and that and this. But trust me, this is the only thing that works. Everything else is garbage compared to this. So that's what you need, Mike. That's what you need right there. And it sands as good as drywall mud. Okay, but you gotta let it dry. You gotta let it cure out. You know, it doesn't sand very good when it's wet, but when it's cured out, it sands just as good as drywall does. It's not like sanding rock, you know. So yeah, that's the stuff to use. Definitely. Awesome. Here's another one. This is that's the stain that works really, really well on balsa, and it dries. If you've ever used Minwax stain, it seems to never really dry because it's real heavily oil based. It's real heavy oil. Okay. And like 2 days later, you can still feel the oil film on it. This stuff actually dries. You come back the next day and it's dry to touch, which is surprising, especially in balsa, because balsa is so porous that it soaks everything up like a sponge. And if you put too much of this on, it'll literally soak through to the other side. I've had that happen. But this stuff works really good. So keep that in mind. I bought that at Menards.
What color is that, Greg?
It's called Spring Oak. It's right there on the bottom of the can.
Yeah, but the can was moving around, so I couldn't tell.
Sorry.
It's all good. No, it's all good. I'm pulling up the link so I could post it into the chat so they can have it. There we go. True Value is a good place to go. Perfect.
Okay. Yep. And that's what gives you that really good color. It's fantastic. One thing I will mention, and you can get these at Fastenal if you build this airplane. You've got a situation here. I'm just going to show you just to help guys out a little bit. This is your DLE 85 right here. This is without the mount. The mount's actually in Joe's airplane. The engine for mine's in it, but this is Joe's engine, and the mount's actually still in the airplane because once I put the mount in, it's in. Okay. This comes with 40 millimeter bolts in the front. When you use the spinner that comes with the kit, now mind you, this spinner comes with a kit, and this is a heck of a piece. I mean, True Turn's got nothing on these guys. Whoever made these are sweet, and they're balanced and they're true. I even checked them. I mean, they are flat and perpendicular. These babies are on the money. Okay. To get this and the prop mounted on this engine, you're going to have to use 60 millimeter bolts. And so you're going to have to buy longer bolts for this engine. These, like I said, these are 40, and you're going to need 60s. So you just call Fastenal and say, I need 5 millimeter bolts, 60 millimeter long, and they'll get them for you. And that's what it's going to take to get enough threads in this hub to hold everything together. So always keep that in mind. A lot of guys are going, man, where would you get those at? Well, you go to Fastenal, they can, if it's made, they can get it. So, and I think they're like 30 cents a piece. So it's not like it's going to kill you. But
that's great info.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you don't want this is sweet and it's heavy. This is like a flywheel. It's going to make this thing idle about probably 400 or 500 RPM because this is a flywheel too. And, but like I said, the hub is thick. And so to get through the prop and this hub and into the mount, you're going to have some longer bolts. So keep that in mind too.
Perfect. And keep in mind, anybody that's watching this, again, I said it earlier, but make sure you understand that all that he's showing us comes in the kit.
Comes in the kit.
That spinner, to buy that spinner by itself is probably $200 or $300 easy.
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah, easily. So I mean, when I opened up the box and I saw that spinner, I was like, oh my God. I was stunned. I was like, my lands, this is crazy. I mean, because back in the day, I mean, before I got into the hobby industry, I was a tool maker. And I was trained as a tool maker for years. And I did a lot of machining, a lot of tooling. I did a lot of experimental stuff for Cummins engine back in the day. And I know what it is to machine something like that. I know what it is to make it perfect enough to actually work. When you take something that's 7 or 8 inches in diameter and you put it on the end of a crankshaft and you're turning it at 7, 8, 9,000 RPMs, you do not realize how perfect that thing has to be. I mean, it has to be absolutely perfect as far as flat and parallel. I mean, it has to be perfect or it'll wobble and rip the motor off the front. Okay. So it has to be. So what it takes to machine that thing is ridiculous. And so when I saw that, I was just like stunned. And one of the companies that I used to work for down south of me here still makes the spinners for all of Nick Ceroli's back plates, all those spinner back plates for Nick Ceroli's. The spinners are spun, the actual outer cone is spun, but the back plate is a very precise machined piece. And that company still makes those for Nick. So I designed probably 5 or 6 different back plates. And I know what it takes to make those things perfect and the kind of machining that's involved. So that piece right there almost makes the kit literally worth the money because, I mean, you're just not going to find that. In fact, I have had several people ask me where they could get a spinner like that. And I'm like, well, this comes in the kit. So you got to get hold of Boss USA. So, and I don't know if they sell them outside of that kit. I have no idea. So I couldn't answer that question.
Well, I'm sure something can be worked out.
I'm just saying and it's mainly a couple of guys from overseas, you know,
right.
Since we're in the social media, I mean, shoot, I've probably got 400 or 500 friends overseas right now on my Facebook page.
Oh, so. Yeah, I'm probably got way more than that.
Oh yeah, in fact, a lot of them will send you friends, and you friend them, and then you can't understand anything they're saying, and you can't read anything on their page, and you're like, well, yeah. I'm somewhat bilingual, but not like that, you know.
Right? Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I actually, when I worked for a company that I worked for before, I worked for Boss USA. I ran into that and figured out that Google Translate is your best friend.
Exactly.
That stuff all the
Don't
time.
speak Portuguese, Greek, or any of that kind of stuff. You're like, whoa, time out here.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
especially the Russians. I mean, Cyrillic is awful.
Yeah.
I mean, even one that just looks like chicken tracks. So.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know what it is, you don't know what it is, and there's nothing you can say or do about it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you want to do something different? Do an albatross. I like it. And in fact, I've had some guys wanting to know if you're going to do a quarter scale. So I said, man, I don't doubt that's in the works.
Yeah, and what I will say, is everybody, because my audio on your end got weird all of a sudden. I don't know if it's just on my end. Yeah, it changed, and it might be something just on my end. I just want to make sure everybody can still hear you. Okay, but what Greg was talking about was the quarter scale of the Albatross, and I know that's something that's being worked on. We do have several airframes in the mix right now, and we're trying to move along in a pace that helps everybody. Yeah, Marvin said that your sound got weird too, so I don't know what's going on. Yeah, that's all good. Let me try something here. Now try it.
You still there?
Yeah, we can still hear you, but it's tinny sounding, which is oh, now we're gone. All right, so I'll get Greg back here pretty quick. He'll hit the link again here in a second and come back in. So if any of you guys have any questions, just let me know. I'm messaging him now to let him know. He may not know he's out. So technical difficulties. This is what happens when you do live shows, right? You don't do live shows with animals or babies or apparently fantastic airplane builders because there's always going to be technical issues. So hold on. I can see him moving around on the messenger screen, so I know he's getting there. Sorry about the delay. Yes, Patrick, I'll field that question right now. That is something that we have in the works. There he is. There he's back.
Is the sound better?
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, it happens. It happened earlier on one of my other ones. I was answering Patrick's question. We do have that on I will say that's on the drawing board. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and let you know it's in development because there's several airframes in front of that. We have two other kits that you're probably going to see shortly. One of them is the Secret Squirrel project that I have here that I'm not allowed to speak about. And there's a couple of more. There's a couple of more upcoming, but that is definitely on the list. I know we get a lot of requests for the quarter scale Albatross. We get a lot of requests for the fifth scale SE5A. We get a lot of requests for the third scale SE5A and the third scale Camel. Those are all airplanes that we have on our list. It's on the board. So just stay tuned. We'll get those out as quickly as we possibly can. So Carl wants to know where you got the uniform you used to wear when you flew in the past. I think he's talking about the military uniform.
You mean like a Top Gun and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Many years ago, of course, I'm a commercial pilot and have been since I think I got my commercial license in 1980. And I used to fly for a living years ago. And I did a lot of flying. And I used to do reenactments, and we'd fly warbirds, the real full-scale warbirds. And we bought uniforms to wear in those reenactments. And then I started doing it in the modeling part of it. But the uniforms that I wore are actual World War II uniforms that I bought at military shows and pieced them together. And then a few years ago, I came across a situation where I was able to literally buy a guy's history who was a C-47 pilot in England, and flew part of the 101st on D-Day in a C-47. And I have his complete history. I have all of his medals, all of his uniforms, both sets of pinks and greens and greens and greens, both of his crusher caps. They're all embroidered on the inside with his name and everything. And I don't wear that one. That one's on display in my house on a mannequin. But and I do collect that stuff. I do collect World War II memorabilia. I have a gun sight out of a Hellcat and all kind of crazy stuff for World War II stuff. And in my collection. But the ones that I wore, I just pieced together from military shows, and it's kind of it was difficult at first because I'm a 40 regular, and I'm 5 feet 8.5, 5'9" tall, and in World War II I would have been considered a giant because everybody in World War II wore a 38 slim,
right? And
so finding a 40 regular in a military uniform in World War II was not easy.
I bet not. I don't even shop.
No, it was crazy. But they're all wool and they're all heavy and they're all hot and wow, it's amazing. They're all silk lined and people don't realize it, but the wool pants, the pink, what they call the pinks, they aren't really pink. They're a light beige, but they look pink up against olive drab. Those are all button flies and everything, just like old style pants. And, you know, back in World War II, a zipper was a special thing because it was brand new. Nobody had zippers.
Right.
So anyway.
Very cool.
That's where I got my uniforms at.
That's great information. That's really cool. Well, I can tell you we've taken up plenty of Greg's time this evening. We've had him on for an hour now. So I really want to thank you for coming on. I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you for all the work you're doing, putting in on the albatrosses. I'm like a little school kid. I just can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm super excited. I know there's a lot of people excited. I know I'm getting a lot of requests for you to make the trip with us if we are able to go to Rhinebeck so we can fly them both together. I know on your end, the work situation gets in the way, but if that's an all possibility, I know at least one of them will be there. But I know we've getting lots of requests to have both of them at Rhinebeck. We'll see if that works out or not. I really want to thank you for all you do for the hobby. It's amazing that we have people like you to learn from. And I will tell everybody that'll listen to my voice, follow Greg, pay attention to what he's doing, because he is a rare bird in that he is the knowledge base for just about anything you would ever need to do in RC scale hobby or hobby at all, period. Because the man is amazing. I know he hates for me to say it, but I say it anyways because I really feel, that he is the man right now as far as builds. So thank you so much for being on with us, Greg. And I look forward to seeing the complete projects. And by the way, I'm probably going to change my scheme now that I've seen that. So just so you know.
Okay. Well, I wasn't trying to talk you out of it, but I'm sitting there going, man, that thing would be beautiful in any other color but red.
Just gorgeous. Man. I saw one at Joe Nall last year. The guy had done up in the Red Baron scheme, and it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. Unfortunately, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but it looked phenomenal. But now that I've seen one.
But it was all red like that.
Yeah, it was the one that I sent you the picture of. It's the one that was on the line at Joe Nall. And it's gorgeous. Okay. But I'll be honest with you. If you compared this one to that one, the one that you've got behind you is just far and above that scheme. It's just, to me, it's a piece of furniture, man. I'm gonna put it in my living room and set on it.
Yeah, that look it's pretty. I was amazed. I was like, wow, that's coming together. That's actually looking really good. Because I mean, when you start thinking about staining and finishing balsa wood, a lot of your other kits come with plywood skin, but the plywood that you use for that skin has the face on it is a different kind of wood. It doesn't take stain very well.
Yeah.
Okay. And like your 64th ply, I don't know where it's made, and I don't know what kind of wood they use for the laminates, but it's a type of wood that doesn't take stain very well because it's not heavily grained. But balsa, if you do it right, takes stain really well, and it's like, man, that's pretty.
Yeah, I love it. And I was already thinking that I might change after I saw your finished product. So I was already kind of thinking that. I wanted to ask you, but I was afraid to, because I was afraid you were too far along in the process to make any changes.
No, because all I've done right now is got it figured out how I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
but if we change it, I already know how I did this. That's easy. So
right. Yeah, that's easy. Stop it. Okay. All right.
Okay. I'm sorry. I take things for granted, and I apologize. I do, honestly. I don't mean to sound facetious or anything. Seriously, it's just the way I do things. Sorry.
When you're the master Jedi, Obi-Hahn-Benobi, you get what you get. That's just that simple. The man has chewed all the leather he can chew, so it's all good. All right. Yeah. So thank you very much again, Greg, for being with us. I look forward to seeing the finished projects. Thanks to everybody that showed up for the podcast. So we actually had some pretty good numbers on this one. Make sure you keep in mind that this weekend, all weekend long, is the Toledo 2020 Keep Calm and Build on sale at balsausa.com. I want to clarify all kits and all kit accessories that we would have with us at the shows are going to be what's on sale. Unfortunately, we're not able to discount the one-ofs and the pieces of wood and whatnot, but all kits and all kit accessories, just like we would have at the show, is going to be discounted. And if you enter in the coupon code Toledo 2020, all caps, no spaces, you are going to be entered in to win a 1/3 scale Balsa USA fully laser cut Sopwith pup kit. So stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for tomorrow. We're going to do kind of the same thing tomorrow. We're going to have a couple of different guests on, and we'll be here all weekend. And it sounds like this might end up being a pretty regular thing. So once again, Greg, thanks for being on, and thanks for everybody for watching, and everybody be safe. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and happy building.
Thanks for having me, and wash your hands.
Absolutely.